What's going on, everybody? First of all, I'd like to say thank you to everybody that subscribed. Thank you to everybody that watched my video. All the comments, the response, the messages, all the feedback that I got so far, it was inspiring to me. It made me feel real good. I still start and replay and start over with the recording. Part of me wants it to be perfect, even though I know that it won't be. I don't want to come across as a fake or I don't want to use I don't want to use this social media outlet to try to bash what somebody else is doing or talk about what they're doing. I don't want to get into that. I just want to be kind of like genuine and if I'm not doing this to try to get 10 million views and 1 million subscribers. I mean, who wouldn't want to? You know what I mean? But, I had like 269 views on my last video. I know that's not, for some people that may not be a lot, but to me it was just, that's 269 people that viewed it that I hope that at least one person got something from it. My message is clear, it's like we all want to do better. We all want to be successful. I mean, it's just a step that, steps that you have to take in this world, in this life, to get to where you're going. Nothing's going to happen overnight. But I was in Atlanta last week and I ran into a guy. I posted it on my Facebook, but I ran into a guy, man, that I was incarcerated with a few years back, and he just had came home May the 2nd. After 30 years of incarceration, he was released May the 2nd. He's 72 years old. He lives in Atlanta Recovery Center, the homeless shelter. And through conversation with him, I learned that the homeless shelter charges rent. And it just kind of baffled me a little bit because I'm like, this man come home after doing 30 years in prison. He's 72 years old. It's not too many people that's going to give him a job opportunity, him being a convicted felon, along with his age. And he still got to pay $300 a month. And I'm like, damn, I'm like, coming home after all that time. When I came home, I was blessed. I had my family, my mom, my cousin, my aunt. Those were the three people that really, really just had my back more than anything. My cousin Ryan and my aunt Nancy. My mom, of course. Like, without those three, man, I don't know. I don't know where I would be today, because when I first came home, man, I was like totally lost. And I didn't have a job. My cousin, he paid me to help paint his house. My aunt, she gave me the opportunity to rent a place from her. And my mom always had my back. I got a job, I met my wife, and I started building my life back together, putting my life back together, building toward my future. And January of 2019 will be 8 years that I've been home. But during my marriage, when we first got together, my stepson, he was a senior. And I used to have conversations with Calvin, telling him, that your friends, if your friends, your friend will never put you in a bad situation. And it's a difference between a friend and an associate. And as you get older and you get out of the high school era and you transition yourself into the real world, your friends, it's like everybody starts going different ways. So a few years back, I remember we was getting ready to play the little PS4, and it was right before New Year's Eve, and I could tell in his body language, his phone rang while we was waiting on the game to program itself, what it was doing. And I remember his body language and his expression in the phone. I was like, I'm like, who you talking to? And he kind of motioned for me to hold up a little bit. And I won't repeat like a lot of the conversation. I just know that the things that were being said was just kind of like making me think like something ain't right. So then he answered the incoming call, and I could hear him saying, yes, sir. And I was like, wait a minute. You don't even yes sir me. You know what I mean? I'm like, who in the hell are you talking to? And that's when he muted the phone and he told me it was a detective. And I said, hold up, time out. So let me speak to the man. You know what I mean? So I got on the phone and I'm like, my name's Michael Smith. I'm his stepfather. We kind of broke it all down. I'm like, give me a few minutes to let me speak with my son. And I give you my word, I assure you I'm going to call you back. I said, but until I find out what the hell's going on, nobody's going to talk to my son. And that's when I told my son, I'm like, I need to know every single thing, like what's going on, what happened, like what the hell's happening. So one of his homeboys had called him and said, if the police call you, you tell the police that I was with you last night. So my son, keeping it real, keeping it real, told the police officer that he was with him. And what my son didn't know was his friend was on his way to jail for murder, for a double homicide. And they was looking for a second suspect. And that's when I told my son, I'm like, you just became that second suspect. Like that quick, keeping it real, you just put yourself in and involved yourself in this crime. And, he told me that he didn't have anything to do with it. And I had to call the detectives back at this time, and I said, basically what happened is, even though he's over 18, he's still my son. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I gotta do everything I can to protect him. I said, but basically what happened is I don't think that he realized the seriousness, and he didn't have no knowledge of what was going on. So it was just, he was with me, and that was it. And it's like I told my son, this ain't high school. It ain't like somebody's parent calling you saying you skipped school, and that he was with you all day. You know what I mean? Like this is a murder. Like just having knowledge of a murder, you can go to jail. So even today, you know what I mean? Like my son, he's got his life on track. His girlfriend, she's an RN. She got a little job at Northside, and my daughter, she's getting ready to go off to college this week. My other son, he's in college getting ready to be a fireman. And then we have the youngest one, he's a senior in high school this year. So we kind of have our hands full with parenting and guiding and wanting what's best and wanting more for our kids than what they seem to want for themselves, just like anybody else. It's just like it's an age gap. I guess it's just a part of life that we all go through as kids and young adults. But the guy's nevertheless, the guy's in jail now. He pled guilty to, I think he got 25 years or something. The other guy, they eventually caught up with the other guy, and they gave him life. And it's still, people still communicate with people that are incarcerated. So he's like, Calvin snitched on me, is what he's telling everybody. So my son kind of took that to heart, and I could tell that it was bothering him. And I really haven't had much detailed conversation with him. I just tell him pretty much, I'm like, man, F that dude, you know what I mean? Like, fuck him. You know what I'm saying? Like, he ain't your homie anyway. Like, if he was your homie, he would have never put you in that position. If he was your friend, he wouldn't have put you in that position. He was looking out for himself. He was trying to find a way and get out of that situation at any cost. So he threw you up under the bus. So these young people around, they like to use that word snitching. Everybody likes to throw, snitching. And my outlook is, like one is like I told my son, if you're grown and you're doing the right thing and you're a law-abiding citizen, then snitching don't apply to you. Snitching only applies to those that are breaking the law. Snitching only applies to people living by different codes and rules other than the rules handed down by society. Snitching is a street code. Snitching falls into the street category. If we over here hustling and we moving and doing something that we ain't supposed to be doing, and we both know what's going on, and then we get locked up, then we can't turn on each other. That'd be called snitching. But when you're doing the right thing in the world, there's no such thing as snitching. It's called doing the right thing. So it's one or the other. Either you're doing wrong and you living in the streets, or you doing the right thing and doing what you're supposed to be doing. So I told him, I'm like, people get the word love, they get that mixed up. People throw that word around, oh, I love you, I love you. They throw that word around like like it's just another word, like, oh, I love you. But they don't really know what love is. They don't even love themselves half the time. But it's the same thing with snitching. Everybody keeps it real. Nobody snitches. Nobody wants to be that guy. But man, I know for a fact there's a high percentage of these dudes and females that when you behind that door and you facing jail time, they wiggling and they snitching. They telling every little thing they can to try to minimize their sentence. They're trying to work out a deal, and they'll throw you up under the bus to work that deal out. But the point of that snitching category is, my son had absolutely no knowledge that they had just tried to rob somebody and killed somebody the night before. All he knew that was his friend called him and said, if they call you, tell them that I was with you all night. That's all he knew. He didn't know that it was a murder investigation, murder and a robbery investigation, and that quick he could have became a party to the crime. I took him to the police department. He gave his statement. He gave his interview. They questioned him. He had to go to the GBI headquarters to take a polygraph. So what I'm saying is, had he not been truthful for something he had no knowledge about, he would be serving 20 years, maybe even a life sentence for a murder that he had no knowledge of, wasn't a participant in, because he would have been keeping it real. So the keeping it real shit is starting to get like really, really played out with me. Everybody keeps it real. Everybody's 100. Nobody's a fake. Nobody's phony. Everybody's flawless. Like, man, miss me with that, man. It's about doing the right thing. It's about living. It's about growing. It's about making a difference. If you're out here and you're not making a difference in nobody's life, not even your own home, then you need to reevaluate yourself. I reevaluate myself all the time. I still question myself because I don't want to be that guy. It's like I tell my kids, if I don't tell you, then I failed you. So if I don't get on to my children, if they make a mistake, if I don't get on to them, I'm failing them as a parent. I'm failing our society, and I'm failing them because it's my job to guide them, educate them, and to prepare them for the real world. But back to the situation about I'm kind of backtracking a little bit, but the guy that I was incarcerated with, I won't call out his name, but 30 years of being incarcerated. Come home after 30 years, he has no family, he has no job, and he's 72 years old. So he's having to figure out how to transition himself back into society, living in a homeless shelter that he has to pay $300 a month to live in. And I know people will say, $300 a month, that ain't nothing. But put yourself in a position with no job and no money. You've been away from this world for 30 years. I'm not saying he needs, because he went to prison. Everybody's like, you did the time, you do the crime. You did the crime, do the time. Well, I did my crime, I did my time. But because I'm a convicted felon, it's going to forever be on my file. So you can do the crime and you can do the time, but the felony never goes off of your file. So, it's a lot to think about. I mean, the keeping it real, the snitching and shit like that, you have to figure out, are you doing the right thing or are you snitching? Are you living a productive life? Are you living a life that is doing the right thing, or are you living something, you living according to the street code? So it's like, if you ain't doing wrong and you ain't in the streets, you're doing the right thing, man. If somebody comes to your house and they're trying to cause harm to you, you're gonna protect yourself. If somebody breaks into your car, you don't know who did it. You just know your car's been broken into, it's been vandalized. 9 times out of 10, you're gonna call the police and you're gonna report it as a burglary or break-in, something. So That's not snitching. That's calling the police and letting them do their job. But anyway, man, I'm kind of all over the place a little bit today. I just wanted to drop that on y'all a little bit. And I'm still trying to work out the kinks with doing this YouTube. But I hope y'all have a good weekend, man. I'm out of here. See y'all next week.